A Peugeot 208 that claims 55 miles per gallon but needs a £4,000 engine rebuild at 40,000 miles. A plug-in hybrid that promises 200 miles per gallon but actually does 30 when you forget to charge it. A Volkswagen Polo with a gearbox that costs more to service than some people's monthly mortgage payment. And a Mini Cooper that looks like a small car but charges you BMW prices every time something breaks. These are the cars that look cheap on the brochure, cheap on the forecourt, cheap at the fuel pump, and then they destroy you. This is Under the Bonnet, and today we're exposing 11 so-called economy cars that are quietly bankrupting their owners across Britain, because the most expensive car you'll ever own isn't the one with the big price tag, it's the one that bleeds you dry £100 at a time while you convince yourself you're saving money. If you've ever bought a car because it was cheap to run and then watched your savings evaporate into a mechanic's bank account, hit subscribe if you value your wallet, because I'm about to save you from making the same mistake twice. Number 11. The Fiat 500 1.2, the fashion trap. Everyone loves the Fiat 500, it's cute, it's Italian, it parks anywhere, and on paper it looks like the perfect cheap runabout. 35 miles per gallon in real-world driving, low road tax, tiny engine, what could possibly go wrong? Insurance, that's what goes wrong. The Fiat 500 1.2 sits in insurance groups 5 to 12 depending on trim. Sounds reasonable until you realize who actually buys these cars. Young drivers, city drivers, people in postcodes where insurance premiums already make your eyes water. A 21-year-old in Birmingham was quoted £2,800 to insure a Fiat 500 Pop worth £4,000. The insurance costs more than half the car's value every single year. But insurance is just the beginning. Fiat dealer labour rates are a nasty surprise for anyone who assumed small Italian car means cheap to fix. The thermostat housing that costs £40 as a part somehow becomes a £300 bill by the time the dealer adds labour and diagnostic time. Brake discs that should cost £40 a pair ends up at £85 through official channels. The City brake control system fitted to high-spec models uses sensors that cost over £400 to replace on a car worth £6,000. And then there's the build quality, which reliability surveys consistently place Fiat in the bottom third of manufacturers. Dashboard rattles develop within 18 months. Electric window regulators fail with depressing regularity. The dual-lock semi-automatic gearbox, avoid it like a damp weekend in Skegness. The Fiat 500 isn't a cheap car, it's an expensive car that happens to be small. Number 10. The Vauxhall Corsa D and E with the 1.0 turbo, the timing chain roulette. Vauxhall sells more Corsas in Britain than almost any other car. It's the default choice, the can't go wrong option. Except you absolutely can go wrong, and tens of thousands of Corsa owners already have. The 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo uses a timing chain instead of a belt. Chains are supposed to last the lifetime of the engine. That's the theory. In practice, these chains stretch, the tensioners wear, and if you're unlucky, the chain jumps teeth, bends your valves, and turns your affordable hatchback into scrap metal. Forum after forum is full of Corsa owners reporting timing chain rattle from cold at 40,000 to 60,000 miles. Replacement cost? Between £800 and £1,200 at an independent, more at a Vauxhall dealer. Then there's the Easytronic gearbox. Vauxhall fitted this automated manual to thousands of Corsas, and it's an absolute horror show. Jerky gear changes, clutch actuator failures, ECU faults that leave you stranded in a car park. Repair costs range from £400 for a clutch actuator to over £1,500 for a complete unit. And the older 1.2 and 1.4 petrols? They burn oil faster than they burn petrol. The oil level warning system doesn't alert you until the level is critically low, not when it's getting dirty or contaminated. You're driving blind to your engine's actual health. Vauxhall counts on you not checking the dipstick. And on newer models, even finding the dipstick is a challenge. They're tucked away, hard to read on black plastic, and supplemented by electronic level sensors that only warn you when things are already critical. A Corsa might be the cheapest car on the forecourt, but cheap to buy and cheap to own are two very different things. Number 9. The Renault Clio 1.2 TCE, the TurboTax. The Renault Clio has been Britain's French car of choice for decades, and the 1.2 TCE engine, the turbocharged direct injection version, promises the best of both worlds. Performance of a 1.6 with a fuel economy of a 1.2. What Renault didn't advertise is the 1.2 TCE's dirty secret, the H5F direct injection engine, not to be confused with the older 0.9 TCE, which is actually fairly robust. Developed such severe problems that owners launched what became known as the Motorgate campaign. Excessive oil consumption, timing chain stretch, and carbon buildup from the direct injection system created a pattern of failure so consistent that legal action followed. Pistonhead's forums are full of owners who've had chains replaced at surprisingly low mileages. One mechanic rebuilt an engine after the plastic casing around the chain rails disintegrated, causing the chain to skip and bending every exhaust valve. That's not a service item, that's a £2,000 to £3,000 catastrophe. The direct injection compounds the problem. Unlike port-injected engines, the 1.2 TCE builds carbon deposits on the intake valves because there's no fuel washing over them. Walnut blasting to clean the valves cost £300 to £500, a maintenance item Renault never mentioned in any brochure. The Clio also suffers from electrical gremlins that would embarrass a 1970s British car. Central locking failures, dashboard display glitches, sensor malfunctions that trigger warning lights for problems that don't exist. Number 8. The 2012 to 2014 Ford Fiesta 1.0 EcoBoost, the wet belt gamble. Ford's 1.0 EcoBoost won International Engine of the Year 3 times running. It was revolutionary. A 1-litre 3-cylinder that could match a 1.6 for performance while sipping fuel. Brilliant engineering, with one fatal flaw. The timing belt runs in oil, a wet belt. It's a design choice that saves a tiny amount of friction, maybe 1 to 2% in fuel economy. In return, you get a belt that degrades in hot oil, can crumble into fragments that block your oil pickup, and kill your engine without warning. Ford's official service interval was initially 10 years or 125,000 miles. They quietly revised that downwards. Mechanics across the country will tell you to change it at 60,000 miles maximum. Belt replacement costs between £500 and £800. Not changing it can cost you an engine, and on a car worth £4,000 to £6,000, that's a write-off. The 2012 to 2014 models also had a separate issue with coolant hoses that could split and dump coolant onto the exhaust manifold. Ford issued a recall, but not every car was caught. The 2015 onwards Fiesta fixed the coolant hose problem, and the wet belt is manageable if you're disciplined about maintenance. But the 2012 to 2014 models are flooding the used market at tempting prices right now. £3,000 to £4,000 for a car that might need an engine by next Tuesday. That's not economy, that's gambling. Number 7. The Citroen C3 1.2 PureTech, the belt that eats itself. Citroen sells the C3 as a cheerful, affordable city car. Quirky styling, decent fuel economy, low purchase price. The 1.2 PureTech engine promises 50 plus miles per gallon and low emissions. What it delivers is a wet timing belt that literally disintegrates into your engine oil. The PureTech engine uses the same built-in oil design as the Ford EcoBoost, but somehow manages to be worse. The belt material swells in hot oil, sheds rubber particles, and those particles clog the oil strainer. Once the strainer is blocked, oil pressure drops. The oil warning light comes on under braking, then the turbo starves of lubrication. Then the engine seizes. Stellantis issued a recall affecting hundreds of thousands of vehicles across Europe, but the recall only covered a belt inspection and potential replacement. The mechanics report that you can't properly inspect a wet belt without stripping the front of the engine. Some owners had their belts inspected and cleared only to suffer catastrophic failures within months. Independent garages now quote £900 to £1,200 for a proper PureTech belt replacement including a new sump. Stellantis main dealers charge more. And if you've missed the warning signs and the engine is already damaged, you're looking at £3,500 to £5,000 for a rebuild or a replacement, on a car worth maybe £6,000. One garage in Stevenage reported seeing fully blocked oil strainers at just 60,000 miles on cars that had been serviced by the book. The recommended oil, Total Quartz Ineo First 0W30, is critical. Use anything else and the belt degrades faster. How many used car buyers check which oil specification the previous owner used? Exactly. Number 6. The Peugeot 208 1.2 PureTech, the Sister Act. Same engine, same problem, different badge. The Peugeot 208 shares its PureTech power plant with the Citroen C3, and every single issue applies identically. Wet belt degradation, oil strainer blockage, turbo starvation, catastrophic engine failure. But the 208 deserves its own entry because of scale. This is one of the best-selling cars in Europe. Hundreds of thousands are on British roads right now, and the recall response has been inadequate. French consumer protection agencies documented that Stellantis knew about these failures since 2016. They've paid out millions in warranty claims while continuing to fit the same fundamental design. The 208 also adds another cost trap. The diesel particulate filter on the 1.5 Blue HDI, the other economy engine option, costs over £1,000 to replace when it clogs. And it will clog if you do short trips, which is exactly what most 208 owners do. You bought it for city driving. The engine is designed to fail during city driving. Number 5. The Volkswagen Polo 1.0 TSI with DSG, the hidden service bill. The Volkswagen Polo is the sensible option. German engineering, solid resale value, reasonable fuel economy. The 1.0 TSI engine is genuinely good, reliable, efficient, punchy enough for its size. The problem isn't the engine, it's what Volkswagen bolted behind it. The DQ200 dry-clutch DSG gearbox is one of the most controversial transmissions in automotive history. Volkswagen fitted it to millions of cars, Polo, Golf, Seat Ibiza, Skoda Fabia, and it's caused problems across every single one. The dry clutch mechanism judders in traffic. The mechatronic unit, the electronic brain that controls gear changes, fails with alarming regularity, and the repair costs are staggering. A DSG service at a Volkswagen dealer costs upwards of £300. That's a service, not a repair. And here's the catch with the DQ200 dry clutch unit. Because it's a dry clutch, there's no external filter to change like on the larger wet clutch DSGs. The mechatronic unit sits in its own oil bath, separate from the clutch, and Volkswagen's official position is that neither fluid circuit needs attention. Ever. Independent gearbox specialists disagree, but the service procedure for the DQ200 is genuinely more ambiguous than for its wet clutch cousins, which means most owners simply do nothing until the mechatronic unit fails. And fail it does. The DQ200's mechatronic unit is notorious. Repair costs run £1,500 to £2,500. Complete gearbox replacement? North of £3,000. The manual Polo is a genuinely good car, but the DSG version transforms an affordable hatchback into a financial liability. And because DSG-equipped Polos are cheaper on the used market, previous owners desperate to offload the ticking clock, buyers think they're getting a bargain. They're just getting someone else's problem. Number 4. The Mini Cooper F56 1.5 Turbo, the BMW wolf in sheep's clothing. Mini has been owned by BMW since 2000, and for the first decade or so, they maintained some presence that Mini parts and servicing were priced for the small car market. That pretense is now dead. The F56 Mini Cooper uses BMW's B38 3-cylinder turbo engine. It's the same basic unit found in the BMW 1 Series, and BMW prices everything accordingly. A replacement turbo costs upwards of £1,200. The timing chain, which BMW optimistically calls lifetime, sits at the rear of the engine, on the flywheel side. In a transverse Mini layout, that means removing the gearbox or the entire engine just to reach it. Budget £1,500 to £2,000. Brake pads that cost £35 for a Corsa? You're looking at £65 to £90 for a Mini. Insurance is another sting. The F56 Cooper sits in group 17 to 25 depending on spec. The Cooper S jumps to 28 to 32 for a small car. You're paying SUV level premiums to insure something the size of a shopping trolley. Servicing at a Mini dealer runs £250 to £350 for basic service. Independent garages are cheaper, but Mini's increasing reliance on proprietary software means some diagnostics can only be done with BMW's own equipment. And the run-flat tyres fitted as standard? £150 to £250 each. The equivalent standard tyre for a Polo costs £85. Mini markets itself as a fun, affordable city car. The purchase price supports that image. Everything after the purchase price demolishes it. Number 3. The pre-2018 Nissan Leaf, the battery cliff. The original Nissan Leaf looked like a genuine breakthrough. Zero emissions, cheap to charge, minimal servicing because electric motors have almost no moving parts. On paper, the perfect economy car. The reality, especially for the 2011 to 2017 models, is significantly less rosy. These early Leafs used an air-cooled battery, no active thermal management. In a British climate, that means the battery degrades year after year. Owners report losing 20 to 30% of their original range within 5 to 7 years. A car that started with 80 miles of range now does 55 on a good day, 40 in winter with the heater on. And when the battery degrades below usable levels, replacement costs between £5,000 and £7,500 on a car you can buy for £4,000 to £6,000. The math doesn't just fail to work, it's actively hostile. Depreciation has been savage. Cars that cost £26,000 new are now selling for £4,000 to £5,000. That looks like a bargain until you factor in the battery condition. There's no standardized way to check battery health before buying. Nissan's own battery health bars are notoriously unreliable. You're essentially guessing how much life remains. Consumer Reports data from America, where the Leaf has been sold longer, shows substantially higher problem rates for electric vehicles compared to conventional hybrids. JD Power's reliability data backs this up. The electric motor itself is fine. Everything around it, the battery management system, the charging electronics, the climate control integration, introduces complexity that undermines the simplicity argument. The newer 40 kWh and 62 kWh Leafs from 2018 onwards are significantly better. But those first generation cars that look so tempting at $4,000, they're the most expensive cheap cars in Britain. Number 2. Any plug-in hybrid driven uncharged, the industry's most expensive loophole. This one isn't a specific car, it's an entire category. And according to Transport and Environment's analysis of 127,000 plug-in hybrids across Europe, it might be the most expensive false economy of them all. Plug-in hybrid vehicle manufacturers claim fuel economy figures of 150, 200, sometimes 300 miles per gallon. These numbers assume you charge the battery every night and drive mostly within the electric range. In reality, T&E's data shows the average plug-in hybrid owner covers just 27% of their miles in electric mode, not the 84% that regulators assumed during testing. The result? Real-world CO2 emissions are nearly 5 times higher than the official figures. And here's where the money disappears. A plug-in hybrid vehicle costs £3,000 to £15,000 more than an equivalent petrol or standard hybrid. The running cost savings only materialize if you charge religiously. If you don't, and half of company car plug-in hybrid vehicle drivers never do, Because they have fuel cards but no chargers, you're driving a car that weighs 200 to 300 kilograms more than its petrol equivalent, powered entirely by a small petrol engine that's working overtime to drag all that dead battery weight. Auto Express tested a Range Rover Evoque plug-in hybrid on a depleted battery and recorded 30 miles per gallon. An Alfa Romeo Tonale plug-in hybrid on their long-term fleet averaged 35.3 miles per gallon over 4,500 miles. 30 miles per gallon in a car that claims 200. The European Commission is revising how plug-in hybrid vehicle emissions are assessed because the gap between claimed and real-world performance is so vast, it's essentially false advertising. Plug-in hybrid vehicles cost drivers an additional €500 per year compared to claimed figures, according to T&E. That's £430 a year in hidden fuel costs on top of the premium purchase price. If you charge every night and drive mostly short trips, a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle can work. But if you can charge every night, why not just buy an electric car? And if you can't charge regularly, a standard Toyota or Honda hybrid will cost less, way less, and probably return better real-world fuel economy without any effort whatsoever. Number 1. The sealed lifetime gearbox, the industry's dirtiest lie. This is the biggest false economy on the entire list, and it's not limited to one manufacturer. BMW, Volkswagen, Audi, Peugeot, Citroen, Ford, they all do it. They fit automatic gearboxes and declare the fluid is lifetime fill. No dipstick, no drain plug, no service schedule. Mercedes at least specifies a gearbox service of 5 years or 77,500 miles. Credit where it's due, but BMW's position on the ZF 8-speed is that the fluid never needs changing. ZF themselves, the company that actually builds the gearbox, recommended servicing at 50 to 75,000 miles. The manufacturer of the gearbox disagrees with the manufacturer of the car. Let that sink in. The problem is that these gearboxes aren't designed to be easily serviced. There's no dipstick to check the level. The drain and fill procedure requires specialist equipment and knowledge of that exact fill quantity and temperature. Your average independent garage may not have the tools, so owners skip the service for years until the gearbox starts slipping, jerking, or making sounds that belong in a horror film. ZF 8-speed rebuild? £2,500 to £4,500. Mercedes 9G Tronic replacement? £4,000 to £6,500. These are cars people buy for £8,000 to £15,000 on the used market. A gearbox failure can exceed the car's entire value. And here's what makes this the number 1 false economy. These gearbox failures are almost entirely preventable. A £200 to £350 fluid change every 40,000 miles would keep most of these transmissions running for 200,000 miles or more. But the manufacturer told you it was lifetime fill, so you didn't do it. You saved £350, and then you paid $4,000. That's the definition of false economy, saving pennies today to spend thousands tomorrow. And that, frankly, is the entire theme of this list. Every car we've covered, the PureTech engines, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle weight penalty, the sealed gearboxes, the Mini, the Chargers, BMW prices, they all exploit the same gap. The gap between what the car costs to buy and what it actually costs to own. Manufacturers know that buyers compare purchase prices, not 5-year total costs. So they make the purchase price look irresistible and bury the real expenses in service schedules, parts catalogs, and warranty small print. The cheapest car to own isn't the cheapest car to buy. It's the one that costs you the least over the time you own it. A Toyota Yaris Hybrid, a Honda Jazz, a Mazda 3. These aren't exciting choices. Nobody posts them on Instagram. But 5 years from now, when your neighbor is paying £4,000 for a gearbox and you've spent £600 on routine servicing, you'll know who made the smarter decision. Which of these false economy traps have you fallen into? Which one surprised you the most? Share your stories below, because every comment on this video is a warning that helps someone else avoid the same expensive mistake.